The Trudeau Liberals have wasted $42 million on a federal firearm confiscation program that doesn't yet exist. 60 bureaucrats are working full-time on a program designed to confiscate legally acquired property, including firearms which are used to sustain the livelihoods of farmers and hunters. Documents obtained by the National Post reveal that costs could balloon to as high as $2 billion. Ottawa is grasping at straws because provinces like Alberta and Saskatchewan and Ontario have refused to aid the federal government in its gun confiscation scheme. The efforts have so far been a disaster worthy of a national inquiry. I mean, there was a time when governments would be held accountable for wasting this much money. But at least one premier has a positive take on the situation. That the program hasn't been a failure because it's failed to confiscate a single firearm, but rather a success. I'm Rachel Emmanuel, and this is the Alberta Roundup.
Rachel Emmanuel brings the news each day on Alberta Roundup. She has her say.
So for those of you who were wondering what you just heard, that was my new Alberta Roundup theme song generated by AI. Actually, Andrew Lawton put that together for me. I was feeling very flattered by all the kind things that were said about me in the song. And then I thereafter learned he was making them for basically everybody. So I wasn't as special as I thought I was. I still really like the song. I think I'm going to keep it in the show as our new theme song. Let me know what you guys think about it. Are you a fan or did you prefer the old music? Okay, taking a look at our first story here, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith was asked how she feels about Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's gun buyback scheme not confiscating a single firearm so far, despite spending $42 million of taxpayer money. And honestly, I don't know if I can do this one justice, so I'm just going to let the Premier's words speak for themselves. Take a listen.
Well, I call that a success that they haven't been able to seize a single law-abiding firearms owner's gun. So I wish them continued success at being able to achieve zero compliance with their program. And we are not going to do anything to help them. We believe that the issue is the illegal firearms getting into the hands of gangs and organized crime coming across the border. And the federal government should be focused on that, not focusing on taking guns away from sport shooters, duck hunters, and farmers.
A friendly reminder that back in 2022, the federal government had asked the provinces for help with confiscating the guns. Specifically, they had asked for Alberta's RCMP to aid in the gun confiscation regime. And then Alberta Justice Minister Tyler Shandra said that it was not a provincial priority and Alberta's RCMP would not be aiding the federal government's buyback scheme. Taking a look at our next story here, this one is a bit of an oldie, but I had to play it for those of you who missed it. Last weekend, Calgary Mayor Jyoti Gondek was booed at a Calgary Flames game. This was pretty painful. Take a watch at this video if you haven't seen it already. Now, there was lots of controversy about this online. Many people, even conservatives, were saying that it wasn't appropriate and that we should show respect for our elected politicians, including Tamara Leach, who said that she found it painful to watch the video. I'm wondering, what do you guys think? Do you think it is appropriate to boo an elected official, or do you think that you should show them respect and decency and be civil and polite even when you disagree with their policies that could or could not be ruining a municipality? Now, of course, we know that the Recall Mayor Gondek campaign has been ongoing. As I've covered for you guys, we knew from the beginning that it was going to be unsuccessful because they required over 500,000 signatures. And the petitioner, that's Landon Johnston, said on this very show that he would not be able to get those signatures. That petition ended on Thursday. The deadline was on Thursday. And volunteers garnered 72,000 signatures. So that is a far cry from the over 500,000 signatures that were needed. Now, we knew from the beginning that this campaign was not going to be successful. I did expect to see more signatures, I'm going to be honest. I know that the campaign had a lot of difficulties. They were not allowed to collect signatures around City Hall and they were chased out of certain other areas. And also, Landon Johnson filed this petition and then other groups sort of gathered around to help out. I think it's one of those things where you really had to hit the ground running. You had to hit the ground running with all your volunteers lined up with a plan in place. And Johnson said on this show, maybe about 2 weeks into the campaign, that they were about ready and organized with their volunteers. That was really a period of lost time, I would say. So, you know, we knew this campaign wasn't going to be successful. I did expect to see more signatures. I don't know how much of an impact it's going to leave because there were so few people who signed the petition. The real indicator of how successful the impact of the petition has been is Jyoti Gondek herself. Will she change her ways? Will she recognize that she is the most unpopular Calgary mayor of all time and actually seek to put forward policies that people want and that will better their lives? Or will she continue to raise taxes and drive through her anti-Canadian agenda? Just going to take a quick look at this story. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was in Calgary again this week. He was in the city on Friday for a housing announcement. And of course, he allowed only his bought and paid for legacy media to question him. Just going to play a short clip for you guys now so you can see what our beloved Prime Minister is up to.
We want to accelerate pace in construction to levels not seen since the end of the Second World War. To do that, we need to change our approach and adopt innovative technologies. We need more made-in-Canada success stories like here at NRB Modular Solutions, the largest modular building solutions provider in the country. And more centralized manufacturing sites where the best workers in the world, Canadian workers, can build faster for cheaper all year round with the help of innovative solutions around robotics, AI, and innovation. That's why in Budget 2024, we will announce a package of over $600 million specifically for innovative housing solutions. This package will, you can pull up that, yes. This package will include the launch of a new $50 million Home Building Technology and Innovation Fund. The goal of this fund will be to provide more homes faster by scaling up and promoting innovative technologies and materials like modular and prefabricated homes. The package will also include another $50 million to modernize and expedite home building through the regional development agencies.
In other positive news, I know we've all been fairly concerned about the drought that was expected for this spring in Alberta. The March that just happened is the second snowiest March on record for Calgary. And I just have to show you this tweet from a friend of the show, Marty up north, who wrote on X this week. I was listening to the radio yesterday and all the host could bring himself to say was, "That's a bit more than the average." No, moron. It's almost 3 times the average. Listening to the media and politicians do mental gymnastics when facts don't agree with their narrative is hilarious. So obviously this is good news for the province. If you've watched the show for a little while, you know by now that I actually hate winter. I hate the snow. I hate the cold. So I don't personally love the snow, but I know that the land and the farmers desperately need it for their crops. So I'm going to choose to see the positive in this. And if you're on X, you should definitely go follow my good friend Marty up north. I love his content. He always hits the nail on the head. Okay, everyone, moving into our next story here. One of the biggest news stories in the country is happening in my backyard this week. The Axe the Tax protest on Highway 1 heading west from Calgary to Banff is still ongoing almost a week later. Organizers and protesters are very determined to stay for weeks on end until their plight is heard. If you guys saw my midweek show, you know that the RCMP showed up in full numbers on Tuesday to back protesters up so they could no longer slow highway traffic. On Wednesday, those officers mostly left other than a small contingency left behind to monitor the situation. I wasn't able to get a very clear answer from the RCMP, but they said it looks like they just wanted RCMP there to ensure that protesters were not slowing traffic. At one point on Tuesday, there was about 100 officers there, and there's been about 100 protesters there every day of the week. So it was about a 1-to-1 ratio. It was pretty crazy, some super surreal scenes. Although I don't know that they are so surreal anymore because we're just becoming so used to that type of insane police presence and crackdown on freedom-loving Canadians and freedom-loving protesters. So we'll play some of those images for you guys now.
I came out here today because people are having trouble buying food and paying rent and paying for their mortgages. We're being taxed again, and more people are falling behind. They can't keep up. I'm standing here for the people who can't be here because we deserve to have our rights to peacefully protest.
And just because the protest is happening so close to my house, I've been trying to get down there every day to do some interviews and just to take some shots to keep you guys updated on the situation. If you would like to see those, you can follow me on my X account where I post everything. We will link that for you on the video. Moving into our controversy of the week, an Alberta NDP MLA is facing controversy from a Jewish organization over her anti-Israel commentary. The Jewish Federation of Edmonton has accused Edmonton MLA Janice Irwin of cozying up to people who support, quote, the erasure of the state of Israel without condemning Hamas, a recognized terrorist entity by the Government of Canada. Among other things, Irwin shared a post denying that Hamas committed mass rape against Israeli women. This comes despite testimonies from Israeli women about sexual violence. As well, the United Nations found, quote, reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence, including rape and gang rape, occurred across multiple locations of Israel and the Gaza periphery during the attacks on October 7th. In a statement posted to X, the Jewish Federation of Edmonton accused Irwin of, quote, ardently demonstrating that she does not support all Albertans, including those impacted by the October 7 Hamas terrorist attack. Irwin has not responded to the allegations. Moving into what we're watching in the weeks to come, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says there's a worrying trend of prescription opioids seeping into the illegal market. We covered a few weeks ago that Alberta had asked the federal government to put a chemical tracer in drugs that were part of prescription opioids, which is also referred to as a safe supply. The federal government rejected that request, and now the Premier is continuing to raise the alarm over drugs that are coming across the border from BC, where they have the so-called Safe Supply program, into Alberta. The Premier says that BC has a right to develop its own policy, but she needs to look out for the interests of Albertans. Take a listen.
We need to know when there's overdoses, if there's some evidence that came from British Columbia. So we're going to continue pressing on that. My ministers have also met with their counterparts in British Columbia so that we can talk about how we can get more data on this. Right now, it's a bit of an unknown how much of the drug seizures contain these prescribed high-powered opioids, and we think we need to know that information.
In the same press conference where she made those comments, the Premier also announced 2 new organizations dedicated to helping those struggling with addiction. The first organization, Recovery Alberta, will become the provincial health agency responsible for mental health and addiction services currently being offered by Alberta Health Services. And the second organization is the Canadian Centre of Recovery Excellence, which will conduct research and program evaluations, provide advice to the government on international best practices, and develop standards of practice on mental health and addiction. And that second organization will be a Crown corporation funded by the Alberta government. And finally, moving into our weekly comment roundup, I pulled these comments from my midweek episode, which exclusively covered the carbon tax protest. You guys can go take a look at that. I have a lot of interview content in there with many people who were out there at the protest, including some who said they were disappointed that Danielle Smith did not show up to the protest and that she had asked protesters not to block traffic. Let's take a look at some of these responses. User Super Ginray said, I think Danielle Smith's statement was completely reasonable. She seems to be doing what she can to oppose the unholy Liberal NDP federal alliance that's intentionally making life miserable for all Canadians. User BevNate said, quote, good grief, no, Smith didn't need to be there. She testified at committee and did a great job praising Alberta and talked against the carbon tax. Everyone paying attention knows how she feels about a carbon tax. She does not need to give the MSM or Trudeau any ammunition to use against her. She has done more for this province in the last little while than any premier I know. Finally, user Sagana said, Danielle Smith should be asking who ordered those officers to be there. If it wasn't her, it was someone butting their nose into her province's business. Not a good look. Okay, everyone, that's all we have time for today. Please like this video and subscribe to True North if you haven't already so you don't miss any of my videos or any of the content from my colleagues. As always, you are welcome to give us a donation if you support our work. You can do that over at donate.tnc.news. I'll be back with a show on Wednesday. I hope that you guys have a great weekend. If you're in Calgary, you should be at the carbon tax protest. And I'll see you guys next weekend. Have a good one. God bless.
In the heart of Alberta, where the cowboys roam, there's a media star with a voice so strong. Rachel Emmanuel brings the news each day. On Alberta Roundup, she has her say. With a twinkle in her eye and a fire in her soul, she dives into politics, she takes control. No topic too tough, no question too hard. Rachel digs deep, she plays her cards.